Have you ever looked at your life and thought, I can't keep living like this? But at the same time, you can't walk away from your life. You have responsibilities, you've made commitments and promises. There's just too much at stake. The good news is you don't need to burn everything down just to start over again, but you do need to stop pretending you're fine when you're not. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through how to start over without starting over, how to go from autopilot to intentional living without walking away from everything you've built. Hi, I'm Lori, and I help midlifers reconnect with themselves, parts of them that have been buried under roles, responsibilities, and routines, and how to reconnect with the life that has been lost. So let's get into it. So step one, you need to reconnect with the version of yourself that's gotten buried. So most of us have spent years trying to be somebody who we needed to be, right? For our families, our jobs, just the different roles. And along the way, parts of us got buried, got put into a box, not because we're weak, but because we've been trying to survive and get through our day, get through our week. So how do we reconnect with ourselves, that version of us that's been buried? Start by noticing the parts of your day where you're automatically saying yes, and ask yourself, do you mean yes or do you really mean no? Are you saying yes because that's just out of habit, what you've been doing? And ask yourself, who did I stop becoming just to get through my week? And how can I bring just one piece of that person back into my life this week? I remember the time that I guess I realized that I had abandoned myself. And maybe it was because I was an empty nester at this point in my life and it had gotten quiet. And I had spent years being the dependable one, the one that everybody in the family came to. I managed the household. And I was just the person who held it together for everybody. But I had lost track of what I really wanted. And when it came down to it, when I realized that and I stopped to think, what had I lost? I wasn't even sure I knew what I wanted anymore. And it wasn't a dramatic moment. So it's not going to be, you're not going to face this moment with fireworks or any big revelation. It's just going to be a quiet, ordinary day when you realize this. But I know for me, I realized I couldn't live like this anymore. So I started small. I started paying attention to things I thought I liked, but I guess things that I actually took on because I inherited them, I guess, because of my family. And one was, as a family, we typically ate dinner really late because that was what worked for our family. And when I say really late, I mean anything after 7:30, as late as 9 o'clock at night. I don't like that. I like eating very early, even having late lunch be the last meal of my day. And I understand that's a very small shift. But for me, when I made that decision to do that, it was the start. It was the start of finding myself again. So that's how you begin. Not by overhauling your whole life. You start with something small, right? So today, start noticing those little things that you do that are on autopilot. Stop yourself. When you're into a routine, say, oh, yeah, this is something I do every day. Think about that. And then ask yourself, do I really like doing this? Is this mine? Or is this something that I inherited from somebody else? So next up, step two, feel what you've been avoiding, right? Starting over isn't just about doing something different, but it's about feeling something new or something old that's been buried. And sometimes we bury the emotions. We bury anger or grief, discouragement, yes, and even joy. All those things sometimes get shoved aside for the name of coping. So how can we start feeling again things that we've been avoiding? Start with your physical environment. To me, that is the easiest thing to do because your physical environment does impact you internally, 100%. So look around the house. Is there a junk drawer that needs cleaning? Is there a closet that is overflowing? Does your email need a complete overhaul? Those things, when addressed, will actually change how you feel inside. Because these external things typically mirror the internal things that we're feeling. So pick one thing, just one thing in your household that you could do today, this week, and bring it back into alignment, right? Then turn inward and ask yourself, is there an emotional, loose thread somewhere? Is there something that you've never really dealt with? Maybe a loss you've never grieved, a forgiveness you never gave, just a moment you never got closure on, a thought loop that keeps recycling. This is your soul's way of saying it's time to address those. You don't need to relive everything from your past. That's not what I'm saying. But you do need to stop running from what's already inside of you. So in my own life, and this is a little bit hard to talk about, but in my own life, I experienced a season where I went through 5 miscarriages, and I couldn't understand. I had healthy children, so I didn't understand why I was going through this. I was confused. I felt very alone. And it is the only time in my life that I felt God had abandoned me. But shortly after the last miscarriage, which was in March of 2009, May of 2009, my daughter, who I had put up for adoption decades earlier, searched for me and wanted to reconnect. It was a closed adoption. I had tried looking for her, but I couldn't find her. They wouldn't give me any information. So when she contacted me, I felt all these feelings, and I was waiting for it my whole life, but I felt all these feelings that I didn't know I needed to feel. So I was able to grieve the loss of those 5 miscarriages, and then I was able to experience a love like I had never experienced. And I guess it's a good reminder to all of us. When we feel a prayer has gone unanswered, I think we need to take a step back and realize that it may just be getting answered in a different way that we didn't expect. So ask yourself, what have you been avoiding to feel? What would it look like to simply acknowledge it, to speak it, and then release it? Name that feeling, but then release it. So step 3, rewrite your ending first. This is a powerful one, right? This is where everything begins to shift. And this is where you start letting life happen to you, and you start taking control and deciding how you're going to live. And you're going to start writing your own narrative. And I'm not talking about a big overhaul. It's just taking another step forward. And ask yourself, what do I want this next chapter of mine to be like? How, when this season of my life is over, this next chapter, where do I want to be? And not only do you visualize it, but you feel the feelings from that vision. Because your mind sees it before it becomes into reality. Everything you want is already here. It's just on a different frequency. So you need to get yourself on that frequency where your visions are at, where your dreams are at. And we've talked about frequency before. And I do have a free vibrational toolkit on how to raise your frequency, and the description below. It's free, grab it. But ask yourself, what do I want to remember at the end of this chapter? Who do I want to be, and how do I want to show up for everybody? But also for yourself. How do you want to show up for yourself? And for me, this moment came on a run. I run 5 days a week, and it was a route that I had taken hundreds of times. So it wasn't a special route. It wasn't any special day. It was just a very ordinary day. But I realized that if I just kept living the life that I was currently living day in and day out, I was going to get to the end of my life and realize that I wasn't really even in it. So that thought haunted me, but I guess it also freed me, because I realized when I got to the end of my life, I wanted to be in my life. I wanted to be the one to create my narrative. I wanted to be not just living by the cards that I was dealt. I wanted to be the hero of my own story. And I want that for you too. And it doesn't have to be this major shift in your life, right? You don't need to do this overhaul. You just need to just slightly shift it 2 degrees a day. Do you know that if a boat just shifts 2 degrees a day, that within 90 days, it's doing a full 180? And that's what you can do for your life. Just 2 degrees a day. And in 3 months, it could be a whole new life. And if you want help staying anchored during this shift, during these 90 days, I have an AI prompt below that I have used, and I just asked it to act as a personal coach for me, and how could I reconnect with myself? Write me a short and powerful vision statement that I could read every day, and let it remind you of who you're trying to become. You don't need to start over. You just need to start inward. Your life isn't behind you. Your life is happening right now. You just need to take one step at a time. You just need to take that right next step. You are so worthy. So it's about time that you start showing up for yourself that way and start reminding yourself of that. And not by proving anything to you or to anybody, but by living your life like it matters and remembering who you are. It's time to come home to yourself. So if this resonated with you in any way, leave it in the comments. Just one shift you're going to make this week, one word that described, what you felt in this video. And if it really resonated with you, please share it with somebody. Please subscribe. And I always like to close with, you are enough just the way you are. You are so worthy. And you are the hero of your own story. So let's create that story. Until the next episode, love you guys.